Francis never imagined his girlfriend's father would also be his sugar daddy, trapping him in a shocking love triangle. Are you wondering how Francis got to this point? Here is the full story. Francis' love story started when he got to the university. The first day Francis got into the university, he adjusted the strap of his backpack as he walked through the gates of the University of Port Harcourt. The bustling campus was alive with chatter, laughter, and the buzz of freedom. For him, this wasn't just a step into higher education. It was the first glimpse of a world where he could start to peel away the layers of denial that had shackled him for 19 years. Growing up in a small, conservative town in Nigeria, Francis had always known he was different. While his friends gushed about girls, his heart fluttered for boys. Yet, in a society where even the hint of queerness could mean ostracization or worse, Francis buried that part of himself deep inside. Now, with the independence that university life promised, he hoped to begin exploring who he really was. Francis shared a room with 3 other guys: Michael, Tony, and David. They were lively and friendly, which made him feel at ease, even if their casual conversations sometimes veered into topics that made him uncomfortable. One evening, as they unpacked their things, Tony brought up relationships. "So, Francis, do you have a girlfriend?" Tony asked, grinning. Francis hesitated, not because he hadn't prepared for the question but because the weight of pretending always felt heavier than he expected. "Not really," he said, keeping his tone neutral. "Not really." Michael laughed. "So there's someone you like but haven't made a move yet, right?" Francis shrugged. "I'm just focused on my studies for now." "Ah, see this one," David exclaimed. "University is not just about books, my brother. You need to enjoy life a little." Francis forced a laugh and nodded, grateful when the conversation shifted to Michael's on-again, off-again relationship drama. A few weeks into his first semester, Francis downloaded a dating app discreetly. It felt like a tiny act of rebellion, a way to connect with others who might understand him. He filled out his profile with shaky fingers and waited. Most of the matches were older men or people looking for casual hookups. That wasn't what he wanted. He craved connection, someone who saw him, someone who understood. One night, as he scrolled through messages, his roommate David walked in. Francis quickly locked his phone and pretended to be studying. "Why so jumpy?" David teased, plopping onto his bed. "Nothing," Francis replied, his voice tight. "You're hiding something." David leaned over, trying to peek at his phone. "Mind your business," Francis said, a little too sharply. David laughed but let it go. All right. Secrets everywhere in this room. Please like this video and subscribe to this YouTube channel." Despite his efforts on the app, Francis hadn't met anyone he felt a spark with. His frustration grew. One afternoon, as he sat alone in the cafeteria, sipping a Coke, a girl approached him. "Hi," she said, her voice sweet and nervous. Francis looked up. She was petite, with braids that framed her face and a shy smile. "Hi," he replied. "I'm Jessica. We're in the same accounting class." "Francis," he said, shaking her outstretched hand. "I've seen you around," she continued. "You're always so quiet. I was wondering if, maybe, we could study together sometime." Her voice was hopeful, her cheeks tinged with pink. Francis felt a pang of guilt. I don't know," he stammered. "I'm not really good at studying with people." "Oh." Her smile faltered. "Well, if you ever change your mind." She handed him a slip of paper with her number. "Just text me." Francis nodded, tucking the paper into his pocket, knowing he would never use it. Francis adjusted his glasses as he walked towards the art faculty. The well-worn novel, I Do Not Come to You by Chance by Adeobi Tricia Nwabani, tucked under his arm. At 20, now in his second year of studying accounting, Francis had grown more comfortable navigating campus life, but his personal journey was still tangled with confusion and restraint. Jessica's invitation from the previous year had been a turning point, not in the way she might have hoped, but in how Francis saw himself. Freaked out by her interest, he ghosted her entirely, retreating further into his shell. Though he continued to explore dating apps, His connections never seemed to blossom into anything meaningful. Francis believed social media was the only way to find someone who understood him. Francis finds himself in the bursary office as he needs to be there to get his school fees receipt stamped. The temporary bursary office was a chaos of students queuing, arguing, and fanning themselves in the stifling heat. The walls, once vibrant with art posters, were now stripped bare due to renovations. Francis sighed as he joined the long line, the novel still clutched in his hand. Ahead, the bursary attendant looked exasperated, her sharp voice slicing through the air. "Next," she barked, barely glancing at the student she was addressing. Francis shifted uncomfortably. The place was packed, and the chances of getting his receipt stamped any time soon seemed slim. He glanced around, hoping to distract himself, when his gaze landed on someone across the room. "Man, please like this video and subscribe to this YouTube channel." He was tall and slim, with caramel skin that seemed to glow even under the harsh fluorescent lights. Francis froze, his heart pounding in his chest. He couldn't look away. The man exuded a quiet confidence, his focus on a folder he held as he waited his turn. "Who?" Francis whispered under his breath. The noise of the room faded into the background. All Francis could see was this man, an epitome of beauty and grace. He felt a pull, something deeper than the fleeting attractions he had felt before. This wasn't just admiration, it was longing. The man looked up, his deep brown eyes scanning the room. For a brief moment their eyes met. Francis's breath hitched, and he quickly looked away, pretending to be engrossed in his novel. His fingers trembled as he flipped the pages absent-mindedly. The queue moved at a snail's pace, giving Francis plenty of time to sneak glances at the man. He noticed the way he carried himself, calm, self-assured, and entirely unbothered by the chaos around him. Francis's curiosity grew with every passing second. Suddenly, the man stepped out of the queue for staff and walked toward a corner of the room to make a phone call. Francis couldn't help but follow him with his eyes. "Should I say something?" Francis thought, his palms clammy. No, he's probably straight, and way older. What would I even say?" As Francis battled his thoughts, the man ended his call and returned to the line, but not before catching Francis's gaze again. This time, the man smiled faintly, a small curve of his lips that sent a jolt through Francis's entire being. Next, the attendant's voice jolted Francis back to reality. It was his turn. Flustered, he hurried to the desk, handed over his documents, and mumbled a polite "good afternoon." The attendant, clearly unimpressed, stamped his receipt without a word and waved him off. As Francis exited the office, he glanced back one last time. The man was still there, calm and poised, the faint smile still lingering on his face. That evening, back in his dorm, Francis couldn't stop thinking about the man. His every detail played on a loop in Francis's mind. The way he stood, the warmth of his smile, the way his presence seemed to fill the room. Who is he? Francis wondered aloud. The next day, Francis casually mentioned the bursary chaos to one of his classmates, Charles. "Oh yeah," Charles said, nodding. "That whole renovation thing is stressing everyone out. Even the lecturers are complaining." "Lecturers?" Francis asked, his tone a little too eager. "Yeah, some of them had to process stuff there too. You probably saw Dr. Matthew. He's from the English department. Everyone talks about him. He's like the cool, approachable lecturer, but also no nonsense." Francis's stomach flipped. So the man had a name. Dr. Matthew. Dr. Matthew, Francis whispered to himself, the name feeling almost sacred on his tongue. For the first time, Francis's belief that connection could only come through apps began to waver. Maybe, just maybe, the universe had other plans. Please like this video and subscribe to this YouTube channel. The school library was one of Francis's favorite places on campus. It was quiet, cool, and filled with endless stories he could lose himself in. After the encounter at the bursary office, his mind was still racing with thoughts of Dr. Matthew. That smile, that voice. It was unlike anything Francis had ever experienced. On a whim, Francis decided to head to the library the next day, hoping to find solace in a new novel. As he browsed the shelves, he heard a familiar voice behind him. "Weren't you the one reading I Do Not Come to You by Chance yesterday?" Francis turned quickly, his heart leaping into his throat. There stood Dr. Matthew, looking just as composed and charismatic as he had in the bursary office. "Yes," Francis stammered. "That was me." Dr. Matthew smiled. "Interesting choice. Are you in the Department of English and Literary Studies?" Francis shook his head. "No, sir. I'm studying accounting. But my roommate is in the English department, and I borrow his books sometimes. I enjoy reading, even if it's not what I'm studying." Dr. Matthew raised an eyebrow, clearly intrigued. "That's rare. Most students only stick to their fields. What did you think of the book?" Francis hesitated for a moment, then spoke with growing confidence. "I loved how the writer didn't try to make the book overly didactic. It was refreshing. Life isn't always about strict moral lessons, and sometimes people get away with things that might seem socially inappropriate. I think the book captured that complexity well." Dr. Matthew's eyes lit up, clearly impressed. "That's an insightful observation, Francis. It's not every day I hear someone analyze a novel so thoughtfully. Especially not an accounting student." Francis felt a warm rush of pride. "Thank you, sir. I just really enjoyed it." Dr. Matthew chuckled softly. I tend to be attracted to people who are smart, people who challenge the norm and see things differently." Francis's cheeks flushed. He looked down, unsure of what to say. He couldn't believe he was having such a meaningful conversation with someone who had captivated his thoughts so thoroughly. Dr. Matthew continued, his tone casual but warm. "Listen, I'm part of a book club that meets every Saturday evening. It's a small group, but we have great discussions about books and literature. Think you'd enjoy it. Can I have your number so I can send you the details?" Francis's heart raced. He fumbled for his phone, quickly typing in his number and handing it over. "Thank you, sir. I'd love to join," Francis said, trying to keep his voice steady. "Great," Dr. Matthew said, saving the number. "I'll send you the address and time. It's good to see young people like you taking an interest in literature. Keep it up." As Dr. Matthew walked away, Francis stood frozen in place, clutching the book he had picked up from the shelf. He couldn't believe what had just happened. For the first time in his life, Francis felt seen, not for who he was trying to be, but for who he truly was. That night, Francis lay on his bed, scrolling aimlessly through his phone. He couldn't stop replaying the conversation he'd had with Dr. Matthew at the library. Just as he was about to put his phone down, it vibrated with a new message. "Dr. Matthew ***, hello, Francis. I hope you're doing well. I'll be driving to the book club on Saturday, and I'd love to have you join me. I can pick you up if that works for you ***. Francis's heart skipped a beat. He reread the message, trying to convince himself that it wasn't a big deal, but he knew it was. Without hesitation, he replied. "Francis ***, good evening, sir. That would be great. Thank you so much ***. The soft hum of the car's engine filled the air as Francis sat in the passenger seat beside Dr. Matthew. He tried to keep calm, but the close proximity to the man he admired made his heart race. "You'll enjoy tonight," Dr. Matthew said, glancing at Francis. "The discussions are usually lively, and everyone has something unique to contribute." "I'm looking forward to it," Francis replied, his voice steady despite the butterflies in his stomach. The book club was everything Dr. Matthew had promised, a warm, intellectually stimulating space. They discussed novels, themes, and perspectives that opened Francis's mind even further. But through it all, he couldn't help but steal glances at Dr. Matthew, who seemed to light up the room with his insight and charm. Please like this video and subscribe to this YouTube channel. As they drove back to campus under the soft glow of streetlights, Dr. Olyamide broke the silence. "I just finished an interesting novel," he said, his tone casual. Oh, Francis asked, intrigued. It's called Giovanni's Room by James Baldwin, Dr. Matthew said. It's a classic, beautifully written and unapologetically honest. It explores love and identity, particularly in the context of a same-sex relationship. Francis's curiosity was piqued. What did you think of it? It was profound, Dr. Matthew said, his voice thoughtful. It made me reflect on how society often forces people to suppress parts of themselves. But the truth is love, and it's one of the most honest parts of being human. Francis hesitated, then asked the question that had been lingering in his mind. Sir, if you don't mind me asking, what's your take on same-sex relationships? Dr. Matthew smiled faintly, keeping his eyes on the road. I'm fine with it. More than fine, actually. I've never believed love should be confined by gender. For me, it's about the connection, the person, not the labels. He paused for a moment, then added, I'm confident that I'm bisexual. Francis's breath caught in his throat. The admission shocked him, not because of what was said, but because of how calm and assured Dr. Matthew was about it. For the first time, Francis felt safe enough to share his truth. I'm gay, he said quietly, his voice barely above a whisper. Dr. Matthew glanced at him, his expression warm and reassuring. Thank you for telling me, Francis. That's a big step. They talked for the rest of the drive, Francis opening up about his struggles with denial, societal pressures, and his inability to fully embrace himself. Dr. Alyamide listened attentively, sharing his own experiences and encouraging Francis to take things at his own pace. When they arrived back on campus, Dr. Matthew parked the car but didn't turn off the engine. Instead, he turned to Francis, his gaze soft. You're a remarkable young man, Francis. Don't let anyone or anything make you feel less than who you are. Something shifted in the air between them. Francis felt a surge of courage he'd never known before. Without thinking, he leaned forward slightly, testing the boundaries of this newfound connection. Dr. Matthew met him halfway. Their lips touched in a soft, tentative kiss, one filled with the promise of understanding and acceptance. When they pulled away, Francis's cheeks burned, but he couldn't help the smile that spread across his face. Thank you, he whispered, his voice filled with gratitude. Dr. Matthew smiled back. Anytime, Francis. You deserve to be seen for who you are. Please subscribe to this YouTube and turn on post notifications so that you would be notified whenever the part 2 of this story drops on YouTube.